Okay. Yeah. This is CW back with more from my book. Double Grape. Drink it now. This is going to be chapter 7. So what happens in chapter 7 is going to be read about. There's an illustration, obviously. Oops. Oh, whoop. Trying to find this. Chapter 6 there. And there's chapter 7. Alright. So, chapter 7 has an illustration. Another furry person. This guy is a person, you know? He's got a bit of haughtiness in him. But yeah, he doesn't usually say much in this chapter. You know, this is the only chapter. This is the chapter where he says stuff, I guess. Anyway, yeah, chapter 7. Digital posters hang on the walls of Nero, a city located at the four corners. The walls are huge 250-foot composite concrete fortifications spanning the entirety of where the former state lines led, constantly growing in the direction of Nero's outer development. They are now so extensive and thick that the city can be spotted from Earth's orbit. The posters aren't spotted so, but many more peoples than extraterrestrials can see them. The peoples are the many cultured inhabitants of Nero, flying and walking their ways along the paths on the ground and in the air. Beautiful, noisy, hovering vehicles of currently adequate appearance make their way, either on magnets on the ground or with rotors in the air. As these do what they were commissioned and manufactured to, the people in them see the light-up posters on the walls of the old state lines, the anvil-shaped apartment blocks, and the high-rises. For every 24 of humans who encounter these posters, there is one inhuman creature, either a demon or a canid. The posters, sometimes advertising soft drinks, compensation alerts, or the like, lately advertise mostly the escaped inmates of the mental institution city complex. Nero citizens are all understanding, loving, caring persons. They are, however, superstitious, particularly the humans. The escaped inmates are John Albertus, a demon almost fresh from 2 years of evaluation for treatment, and Timothy Zerona, a 14-year resident with prospects of independence from the MIC, if not from all mental health treatment. The two neighbors, after fleeing the scene of their technical overseer's death, carefully disabled ID chip tracking mechanisms and made their way to a security chopper, finally blasting their way out of a skylight by the southeast office tower of the institution. Every 24 humans who sees the startling image of the smiling horned man and the snarling dog caught on camera, lit up on the walls which they pass, stop to think, if they can, of a non-human whom they might know, and whom they must immediately consider to be a similar case to the fugitives. The creatures simply try to live like normal people in Nero. They stay groomed and clean, just like anyone should, to function normally in civic considerations. Their financial endeavors are always met with mundane appreciation, as no living person in America should turn down another's willful contribution in return of service. They even run their own businesses, wherever they can be found. Where one is found lies the two who found it just in time. John and Timothy now rest in a cosmetician's shop, south along the longitudinal wall of the normal city of Nero. I'm a little sensitive, you know, John tells the tattoo artist. A little weird. Embrace the sensation, she tells him. The artist is the middle generation of a family of canids operating a small cosmetic business in the downtown. She turns his head to the right in search of his neck. His face catches the eye of Timothy, who undergoes the traditional soak method of dyeing his luscious fur. Colorful chemicals begin to saturate and envelop his previously trimmed jet black coat. "What?" he says in a tone of secretive hope. "Oh, nothing," replies John. The dark swirls of his eyes focus. "I guess, I don't know. Whatever." Traditional cosmeticians are not exactly hard to find, but so that one or two in this case must be somewhat concerned with detail. This cosmetician, one of many who together operate the business of tattoos, hairdos, and all sorts of grooming for any person under the Midwestern sun, goes by the name of Tracy. Tracy now harbors two insane fugitives, and this is not what she thinks. She is convinced of an imperfectly innocent situation involving the boarding of two supposedly weary wanderers, trying best as she can to make them comfortable and clean in her shop, and later at her apartment. Her place is the residence in the northwest corner of the top floor of a stack of flat, black and white, low-ceilinged modular levels, shaped like the heads of a stock of medieval weapons, wide and curved at the western side, and tapered like a bell to the eastern corner. Circular slices of bread, encasing diced meat and vegetables, are toasted between Tracy's sandwich press. The minor kitchen appliance is designed to press and toast circular slices into a sort of panini, which encloses any manner of filling, from fresh diced tomatoes to pickled eggs. The entire concept came into being around a period in the 2070s, during which cylindrical loaves were mass-marketed and sold to confused customers for the hidden purpose of reinventing sliced bread. Many of these sandwiches float around the small apartment on paper plates and plastic ones, in the hands of relatives, children, siblings, cousins, parents, aunts, and uncles of the family of traditional cosmeticians, by the name of Ashlyn. All the sandwiches are not to the Ashlyn family alone. There lie the two fugitive men on the metal-framed canvas cots in the living room. The family watches them as they eat. Their fellow canid, Timothy, now sports the colorful mark of Tracy's brother, a tall golden boy, dressed to impress in the shop and now only to relax at home. The shop is very popular. Ashlyn Cosmetics is one of many large, roomy, three-storied buildings in Nero, constructed before the widespread integration of modular living, like many of the famous shops. Its roof curves down and touches the ground from the third floor to the first, producing an unnoticed resemblance to an old-world mailbox. The digital sign in the front of the shop, shining blue through the covered windows, draws in the type of person in the 22nd century who might want a tattoo, hairdo, or any other sort of grooming. As the shop now rests from its day of work, so do the family of canids and their visitors. There is no television, as that sort of thing died away around 60 years ago. Now everybody simply reads books. The citizens of Nero are mostly descended from the book-reading, mountain-climbing, slope-sliding, river-rolling, and Dutch oven-cooking outdoors people of the upper Southwest. After all the urban development of the past century, there is little time to climb mountains, roll on rivers, or slide on slopes, but the Dutch oven in the kitchen still cooks a batch of pancakes, as the family either sits at their little spot in the place or wanders aimlessly near the cookware in hopes of retrieving food. The morning has brought the visitors to begin accepting their new environment, seeing that they wake with frantically calm faces. Timothy rises and makes his way to the island counter, across from which an old, dirty blonde canid woman, fur curling in professional directions, plates the hot cakes. "You look a little hungry, boy." She passes the lanky dog a large plate. "Please, fill yourself." He does exactly that. Timothy has grown very hungry through the process of escaping a government facility to a city full of posters displaying his face. He is now a fugitive, along with his friend and neighbor, who, in contrast, loses a significant portion of his appetite due to recent experiences. They both have abandoned their sheltered lives in the Mick for the hell of it, forking over everything besides the clothes on their backs and shoes on their feet. What must be done now is to live a life of hiding. This might have been a mistake. A digital poster on the wall of a high-rise flickers its display of an advertisement for Double Grape, a grapefruit soda, almost commercially synonymous with the colors yellow and purple. As the soft drink can fades away in the flickering, in its place beams Timothy, his black fur contouring to the feature of his snarl, as John, the smiling pinkish-green man with horns, stands forth at his side, blasting 3 high-ranking staff members of the MIC with his air cannon. They don't show any bit of fear in the photograph. Beneath their focused heads reads a caption, "Wanted, escaped inmates, considered dangerous, inform authorities when spotted." After a few minutes of this warning, the double Grape ad returns to spark salivation. Moments pass until Tracy exits the elevator shaft of the stack of axe heads where she lives. As she saw the wanted poster whilst coming down to the ground, she starts thinking about who she has just allowed into her apartment, right in the same room as her entire living family. Those two, she thinks to herself, look awfully familiar. Not sure if I know them. The photograph is not very high-quality work. The automated photographer caught John's horns in the shade of the hangar doorway, and Timothy does look quite different with the look of absolute disobedience on his face. Tracy dismisses the small inquiry in her mind as a simple lick of paranoia. She makes her way by foot along the streets of downtown Nero. Plenty of apartment stacks litter her route to the shop, all looming in the air, levels deepening as she looks up at them. She once again notices their mundane appeal to the wary eye. The shop rests among them like one of few glasses does a herd of bottles. As the furry cosmetician walks toward the door of her shop, she spies another iteration of the wanted poster. The first time she saw it was through an elevator door window. This time, clear as the Midwestern daylight, the image shines through the glass of a nearby window of a neighboring haberdashery. Men stop by it for short times as each of them enters the building throughout the day, either having their measurements for a suit or merely browsing tie clips. The shop is run by a congregation of quite esteemed humans who share an awareness for their fellow man and his need to appear so esteemed in the manner of garb. Tracy walks up to the window. The customers behind it mostly mind their business, in contrast to a tempting derivation of why such a canid woman would be staring at the shop window. The sun has not yet reached too far over the longitudinal wall of the city, so she can just see the glowing LED panel as they in the shop can see her. She notices the features of the two fugitives and how closely they could resemble her two boarders. If that one was pouting instead of snarling, she begins to theorize. And if that dude could be a little more fearful, maybe. Tracy goes back to her shop with a considerably small suspicion that those two in her apartment at home might truly be whom she is fearing they could. Hovering buses and trucks hold control of the streets, especially the highway along the old state line walls. The huge vehicles transport goods, services, and people to where they must be taken. Retail establishments, markets, and workplaces all around. Out of the window of the Ashland apartment, Timothy and John can see all these parts of the buzzing world well. "It's all so ugly," says John. "Why did we leave? I feel stupid." He stares off into the urbanity. "I miss Zoe." Timothy thinks back to the first time he heard Zoe's voice. It was so awkwardly chilling and disappointing. I do too. The two of them sit in the very end of the corner of the apartment, atop a sofa, dressed in clean sets of clothing described as donatable by Tracy's brother, Gavin. He saw the poor state of their previous wardrobe. Timothy in the late Stephen's last uniform and John in a floppy button-down and board shorts, and had no choice but to lend them some of his currently unworn items. Timothy feels the smoothness of his fur brushing on the washed and ironed compilation of yellow denim slacks and salmon twill hoodie, and notices John fitting just comfortably into what Gavin is always too thin to wear, the only cheap suit he owned, coincidentally also the only true purple. Comfort is made somewhat rash as John removes the jacket and lavender shirt. He refers to the purple geometric designs on his arms and torso, not to mention his legs. The whole look complements his pale pinkish-green skin and golden-brown horns. All right, so that's the end of chapter 7. That'll have to be, yeah, that's the end of chapter 7. Oh, yeah.